it's Jai452 back here inside that closet of cosplay. So many weeks spent in here, how will we ever get out? My special guest this week, though, might have some handy tips, and that special guest is.
Hi, I'm Yvil Cosplays.
Hi, Evil Cosplays, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So, we're just going to jump right in there, and I'm going to ask you, when did you first start cosplaying?
Believe it or not, I haven't actually officially taken my cosplays out the house. What I
Ah,
have been doing for the past few years is slowly building up, um, sort of getting used to cosplay, and you're currently looking at what is going to be the first release, which is Zack Fair. And so before that, it's always been steampunk, which is in itself a form of cosplay. So
awesome. So keeping with that theme, who inspired you to get into this kind of thing? Or should I say, who or what inspired you?
I'm going to laugh now. Um, Basically, my mother.
Really?
Yes, she was raised around the time of romantic art, Adam and the Ants, and she used to actually dress up as Adam Ant.
Awesome.
And so it's sort of, when I found that out, it was just sort of like, well, I want to dress up like my favorite people too.
Hmm.
And I was always the kid that would play pretend and dress up, and so it's just sort of, I never really dropped it.
Awesome. So does your mum still do like dressing up and whatnot for?
Not so much now. Obviously, she's sort of doing her own thing. It's more sort of been passed to me now, so
Awesome. Um, so what has been the most challenging thing for you that you've done from a costume point of view to date?
most challenging to make or to wear.
Let's go with both. Let's go with challenging to make first, and then we'll talk about what's been the most challenging to wear.
The most challenging to make would probably be this harness here.
Hmm.
It's a lot of leatherette. It's a lot of having to get a hammer and put in the poppers, and just really having to think about it and try and feed it through my machines. And it tends to stick to the bed of the sewing machine, so it was challenging just to get it through, and I think I used up all my patience on it, but very happy with it.
It looks fantastic. I mean,
Thank you.
is it difficult getting it on and off?
No, this is actually easy release, so I shall stand up if you like and show you.
Uh-huh.
So this is basically on the side, easy
Ah,
release, and even the straps pop and release as well.
awesome.
So it's very much something I have to think about, given with most outfits I wear a corset.
So how long did it take you to make the harness?
This harness took an entire day, from pattern creation to actual completion. So
Wow. It's very amazing. Like I think it's so great. I mean, I'd love to be able to work in things like leather, but I can't even thread a needle. So I am very inept in that. But luckily, I know people who do know how to thread a needle and use various machines. Um, did you find this quite intimidating making this harness, or?
I think probably what was the most intimidating was getting it to work with what I had planned for this entire outfit. Because it's obviously eventually pauldrons are going to be added.
Mhm.
So I have to think about how in the future am I going to attach them to the harness. I need to prepare for future items. And that was definitely challenging, because it's just, you've got to have foresight with an outfit that's going to build up over time.
Definitely. So let's talk about what has been the most challenging one for you to wear.
That would be what I wore at London Film and Comic Con, which was my full steampunk outfit.
Ah,
Purely because it was a lot of layers and a lot of heat, and very uncomfortable near the end of the day. It was, let's have a think here, two shirts, which is lace and a jersey cotton,
Hmm.
and then my skirts, which one skirt actually took me 17 hours to make, purely for all the ruffling and very, very typically Victorian in its style. And that was a lot of layers. It was the top skirt, there's an underskirt to go with that, and then my petticoat, which was 3 layers of crinoline and a non-slip slip underneath, and a corset, which I think I tied up about, I reduced my waist by about 5 inches for that. So it was all day, very uncomfortable, not able to eat, but constantly drinking water.
Oh my gosh. Um, did you mentioned that you went to London Comic Con, Film and Comic Con for that? Were there many other people who were in steampunk outfits there that year?
Um, have to think now. Not very many on the Friday where I wore that particular outfit. Um, I did, of course, bump into Professor Very Mental, who is steampunk, so that was quite relieving. But not very many. I think maybe about 2 or 3 others I saw throughout the days.
Okay. Um, did you feel it was well, I've spoken to um our wonderful person at iGame Online, where you're no doubt possibly watching this viewers, I don't know. Um, I spoke with the head person over there, Mr. Whisper Green Top, who is possibly live streaming, I don't know. Go check him out on Twitch. About I think it was roughly to the start of this year, maybe middle of last year. He was saying to me, "Oh, steampunk's getting this kind of like Victorian steampunk seems to be popping up everywhere." And I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be the end thing next year."
Yep.
And well, obviously this year came, and steampunk has been kind of like taken up to that next level. Um, what would you advise to somebody who's thinking of the style of steampunk and making a costume or even a cosplay themed steampunk kind of thing? What would you advise to them?
Of all things to advise, I'd advise to play with your outfit. It's a lot of the times people buy in their outfits,
Hmm.
and that is absolutely amazing. They're wonderful, but as I said, I chose to make mine because I could get something more personal from it, something more designed for my body. And one of the things I realized was I could have a lot more fun. It's like you have a shirt already, buy some cogs and use them as buttons. Or you have a skirt and you think it's a bit plain, shorten it but add a same length of lace underneath.
Hmm.
Tea stain it and you have a beautiful ruffles steampunk skirt. And it's basically just play. Play with your ideas in terms of that. Always, always have fun with it as well.
Awesome. Um, so in your opinion, what is the most difficult, well, which of the two do you feel is most difficult? Do you feel cosplay can be like really difficult and hard to do? Or do you feel that steampunk has the upper hand there? Because we have seen both of them elevated this year, like everybody's taking that next step. Um, so in your own opinion, which out of the two do you think is more difficult to do?
Hmm. Um, if you're making
Hmm.
from scratch, I would say cosplay. If you're buying, I'd say steampunk. But in terms of just general, I would say cosplay is more difficult because you really want to emulate that character and you really want to get it right. Whereas steampunk, you can just have fun.
Hmm.
And yes, you're having fun in cosplay, but there's always that silent little worry in the background of, am I getting this
Yes.
right?
Um, I think that's a very common one for. anybody who dresses up who has a lot of passion behind it. Um, I remember, I think I spoke to you just before I went to Comic Con this year, and I don't think it was a verbal communication so much as text. And I was saying to you, I'm very worried about my IV one because I don't have the body type, and like it's so many hours before I go, and I'm freaking out, and I'm gonna look horrible in this costume. And then it wasn't until like a couple of days recently that I sent through at least one of the pictures of me in that costume, and you guys were like, "Oh, you look so great," and I'm looking at it going, "Yes, okay." um,
Very nice picture.
Thank you. Um, it didn't have any work done on it at all. Um, but yeah, like the whole time I was there, I was like, okay, the costume does kind of look what I want it to look like, but I'm kind of really self-conscious and cold about wearing it. And I was physically cold as well. Um, so when you're doing any event, like live event, not one from your house, which out of the two are you more inclined to like go along to as a you are more inclined to do a gaming kind of cosplay or a cosplay that people will know, or would you rather do a steampunk one and put your own kind of spin on it?
Well, I've done my own thing for Comic Cons for a few years now. I've always dressed up for Comic Con. I've never gone casually dressed.
Hmm.
Um, but after bumping into a few people, or a few certain people you've interviewed
Hmm.
at the Film and Comic Con, I decided it's time to put the personal outfits away and it's time to cosplay games. And I'm also doing an anime cosplay of Lust
Hmm.
from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Can't wait to see that.
Yes, she's almost done. I just have to get the gloves.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's previously I would have said I'd rather do my own thing, but now it's cosplay. I've been converted.
Do you know the funny thing that I've learned recently about cosplay is it doesn't need to strictly be um, one vision of the character. It can be how you see the character. So I would say to you, like you're saying you're kind of putting your own personal stuff to the side. I'd say don't fully put it away because there might be aspects of something that you've done with steampunk that you might want to add to, well, Zach Fair or Lust from Full Metal Alchemist. So I wouldn't say put it fully away, but it really depends what you want to do at that point in time, because
I think we have kept a bit of that personal aspect because as much as I want to do a male Zac Fair, I am going to keep it as a femme Zac,
hmm.
purely because I want to wear my corsets. So it's that part of it is always going to stay with me. I,
Awesome.
as much as I'll put the outfit aside, I think that little piece of me is going to stay in this cosplay.
So you mentioned two people that I've interviewed before. So we're totally gonna name and shame them now.
Yes, that would be Calamity Cosplays and Sawyer's Mess. I
Right,
guess.
guys. We're naming and shaming you here. So why don't you tell us a little about how you met them and what you do alongside them nowadays?
Okay, basically just walking through Comic Con, steampunk outfit with my friend Jenny. We are part of an online community known as Skyrim Romance Mod. If
Ah,
people have heard of it, then I'm a KL fan. And basically, part of that mod has eventually a romanceable male forsworn by the name of KL. And I look over and I happen to see bright blonde hair and forsworn armor, otherwise known as Connor, and we just immediately run over and we just sort of pose, take pictures, and we stayed to chat with them for a while. And I did drop a mention that I was coming in the next day. I had a weekend pass. And it was basically just said, come on down, come join us. After Big Boss decided to stab me in the throat. Thanks, Nick. It was very much, I went home, I messaged Connor on Facebook, and I messaged Nick saying, look, it's lovely to meet you, and I'll come see you tomorrow. I went in the next day. Let's just say it ended up, I got dragged behind the table and was there for half a day. The entire day behind that table, to a point the Dark Cleo team knew me by name. And I came back on the Sunday and just spent all day Sunday with them as well. And I have to admit, that was probably the best day I've ever had at Comic-Con, ever. It was so much fun. I got to play with all of Calamity's props. I got to mess around with Nick's props as well, and it was...
So not only do you... not only did you get the chance to do that, but you've been kind of like... I don't know whether I'm correct in saying this, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you have been sort of posted as their secretary?
It's nothing official, but I have noticed that when people want to talk to them and they're not answering, I get messaged. And it mostly happens for Calamity. Sawyer's mess isn't so bad, although there was an incident, I think. No, not an incident, that's an incredibly salacious way to say that. I think it was yourself that messaged me for Sawyer's mess, and I had to jump up and just say, it's your secretary here.
I can actually explain that. I was trying to get a hold of him to get all the social media links for the video that is actually up. So guys, do check out Calamity and Sawyer's videos. And you were online, and I was like, oh, right. Do you happen to know this person's like contact information so that I can contact them? And you're like, okay, just let me message him.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then you mentioned about being a secretary, and I was like, oh, right. So this is the person to talk to when you can't go hold of them.
It kind of is right now. It's very much... I even actually, on the Skyrim Romance Mod website, I'm actually in charge of maintaining the Calamity Cosplays account on there.
So guys, we will be back in 1 second. So, and we're back. So you're sort of their like unofficial secretary, and so what's that like?
Initially it was kind of like, why? But now I understand it. I know in terms of Calamity Cosplays, he also has somebody in charge of other social media accounts. Mm-hmm. So it sort of made sense. People started coming to me about other things as well, and it was just because in terms of Skyrim Romance, I was the person who found him, informed him of the character, put him in touch with everyone. It was very much, here you go. But I'm not bitter about it. It's quite fun, but I still get to do all of my other things. It's not a big job. It's a small bit of humor for me.
Awesome. So when you're doing, well, when you're off at cosplay events, what is the one thing that, well, not cosplay events, but cosplay events and Comic-Cons really, what is the one thing that you're most excited about, and the one thing that you find, either used to find or still do find kind of nerve-wracking?
I can answer the nerve-wracking one straight away. Basically, social anxiety. Very much a big part. Yeah, it's very much a big part of who I am. So that is straight up the one bit that I find the most daunting. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that makes it all the better for me is the moment you walk into one of these events and you see people, they're dressed sometimes as the same type of character or your favorite character, or even, I believe in Cardiff Comic Con, I encountered a big group of steampunks. So that was great. It's always there's always going to be that nervosity before going in, but the moment you're in, you realize you're in a room of potentially 1,000 friends. So it,
Um, so when you've been at these events, have you ever entered into what is called Cosplay Masquerade?
no, not yet. I've watched a lot of them, but I do know I will be attending MCM this year in London. If
Hmm.
there's a masquerade there, I may as well give it a shot. And I do plan on entering the masquerade in the 2017 London Film and Comic Con.
I'm hoping to hear back from you about this year's masquerade and how you got on. We might get a chance to do so near the end of the year. Um, that's still up in the air for those of you who know what that means by this point when this interview airs. Um, who knows, maybe you'll get the chance to chat with us, other cosplayers from around the world about their experiences as well. Um, so I wish you all the luck for that in particular, because it is. At first, I remember when I first made I remember when I did my first one, and I did find it quite daunting to begin with, because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go up on stage," and it scared me a little bit. But I've got past and being on stage, so once I had my outfit on and all the rest, and I was running about with my hammer, I was fine. You know, I was absolutely fine. And then 2 minutes before I went up on stage, I was like, okay, I've never done this before. What do I do? And somebody told me you can either pick up the mic and say something. And I was like, considering that I'm dressed as Harley, that's not going to happen. Because I've been listening to Arlene Sorkin, I've been listening to Tara Strong, and I've been listening to everybody else that I can think of that's done Harley's voice. And I just can't mimic that. It's just too hard. So I said, that's out of the option, out of the window. And they said, well, just pose. Just do your poses for the judge and then, but judges and then walk off. And I was like, ah, oh, fine, I can do that. That's not a problem. Went up, did it. I got a huge cheer from the crowd, and then I went off. And I was like, that isn't as hard as it like you would think it would be, because like everybody else was getting kind of freaked out, and they're like, and then you go up, you do it, you come off, and you're like, why was I freaking out like those guys are like 2 seconds ago? So my best advice to you there, when you do it, don't think about it. Just go up, say if you have a little skit that you're going to say your skit. If you don't, equally just go up, pose, have a good time, come back off, keep having said good time. Um, but yeah, that's my best advice for that. Just don't think about it. Um, in your opinion, what is the worst and the best things that somebody can do when they're getting ready to go to a Comic Con in either steampunk or cosplay?
I think the worst thing you can do in terms of particularly getting ready is rush.
Hmm.
Don't rush. Otherwise, you're going to miss important aspects. In a personal case, if I rush tying up a corset, I'm not going to be feeling good throughout the day. Um, for others, there's always going to be that one little thing that needs that little bit of extra time, and always give it that extra time.
Hmm.
And the best thing you can do, yeah, sorry. The best thing you can do is just have fun. Not everybody's going to be counting stitches.
No.
And you have to remember that. That is the best thing you can ever do, is remember people are going to see you in your entirety. They're not going to see the tiny little details too often. So that's probably the best thing you can do, is just Don't be a stitch counter.
Leave that to the judges.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of which, I think Calamity did this recently. He was asked to be a judge for a Comic Con that he was at. Now,
In London Film and Comic Con.
I haven't had the chance to speak to him about it because his interview was sadly done before he did that event. But were you in attendance at that event?
Yes. I
Okay.
got to see quite a lot of what they were up to.
How difficult would you say Connor's job was at that point?
I'd say it was incredibly difficult because it's Connor's an all-round nice guy,
Hmm.
and so is Nick. And I do remember a couple of things he said to me, and it boils down to the fact that sometimes the person you want to win isn't the person that does win.
Hmm.
And it's always, I know there's a Ghostbusters charity that attends the masquerades, and the prize money goes into the charity, and sometimes that comes into account, and they just kind of like, where do I put this? It's a lot of thought for them, and I will admit, I did sneak a peek at the judges, and I practically saw Connor very much very fed up.
Um, because like the reason I ask that is I've been to multiple Comic Cons, both big and small, and everybody who is a judge or who I've spoken to that's been a judge at one of the events have said it is so difficult to choose. Now, you can never quite tell whether they're just saying that to be nice or whether they actually mean it. And that goes for a lot of things. It doesn't just go for like cosplaying and whatnot and other competitions. But having spoken to these people now, I really do get that. Like, I can understand how it would be so hard to choose who you feel is the best and make your argument for two, maybe three other people and say, well, I feel this person should win because X, Y, and Z. Um, so I'm going to just say right now, I don't envy anyone in that position. I thank them for being able to make that decision. Um, and I just say, if you're ever doing it again in the future, good luck to you.
Hmm.
Um, would you personally ever want to judge a competition like that?
Um, that's a tricky one. In one sense, no, because I think I'd rather be competing.
Hmm.
Is the correct term? I'd rather be
Yeah, yeah,
competing. But in another sense, if I was asked to do it, I probably would, purely for the experience and the understanding.
definitely. Um, so let's talk about age differences and the events. When I first got it into my head that I was going to cosplay, I'd only ever really seen American cosplayers.
Hmm.
So I understood there would sometimes be family pictures done where the mum and dad were dressed up like, let's go with Star Wars and say um, Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker, and you might have a little Chewbacca or whatever, or vice versa for the kids, you know. So I knew that families could do it, but I always thought, it's just probably some kind of fancy dress thing that they're doing and they're saying it's cosplay. Um, so I was in this kind of frame of mind that cosplayers were somewhere between early to maybe mid-teens to mid-30s. And I was so shocked that when I went along to one over here in the UK, that it was people of all age groups, like from your little babies that are only maybe 4 or 5 months old to your grannies and granddads that are shuffling along in their walkers. Um, how did you find the difference in age groups? Were you of a similar mind as me, or did you already know that there was a wide range?
Um, I sort of already knew there was a wide range, but Not so much from research, from attending a con with my friend Natalie, who was pregnant at the time and had spent the entire convention searching for an outfit for her baby when he was born.
Oh,
Come to a convention 6 months later, do we have baby Tali as an Ewok?
no.
So I'm sort of very much aware of that age concept, and I've seen obviously tiny little Ewoks, little Hawkeyes and Hulks, and all the way up to the granddad from Up.
Hmm.
So I've seen a lot of that as well, and probably one of my favorite was an older Luke Skywalker. And that was very much, you sir know what you're doing.
Um, Speaking about that, now we both live in the UK, or at least it is called the UK at the moment. I don't know what the future holds. Um, I always find it so fascinating that when you see an older generation cosplaying, 9 times out of 10, they're cosplaying as somebody from Doctor Who.
Mm.
And I think that is genius. I think that's so great because here you have the older generation who grew up watching that show going, oh, well, I can cosplay as the 10th Doctor, the 12th Doctor, the first Doctor, the second. And it actually really made me think about it because I was like, okay, once I reach that age, what can I cosplay as? You know? And here is this person kind of said, yes, I'm finally blah 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 age. I can finally do this cosplay. So it kind of makes me happy that we have Doctor Who here in the UK, because then it gives people an excuse to be like proud that they're from the UK and proud that Doctor Who is our own thing. Have you ever come across a cosplay that's kind of like that isn't Doctor Who? Because Doctor Who is like one of the big ones.
I think for a moment. Definitely seeing a lot of older Lord of the Rings cosplays.
Gandalfs
Yes.
and Sarumans, yeah.
I am seeing a lot of that. I have seen not so much elderly, but definitely in terms of, I don't like saying old or elderly. I don't see age, but it's definitely the mature woman donning I'm trying to think of now, the Invincibles, the Incredibles, something like that. Red outfits. I was never a fan of them.
All right. Okay. Okay.
I see
Um,
a lot of that. I am seeing Wonder Woman more as well. And I can't really think of the last one.
it's funny you should say Wonder Woman, and I'm probably going to get complaints when people start really watching these videos about this friggin' story that I keep telling.
It's okay.
Um, I don't know whether I mentioned it in Connor or Sawyer's interviews. I probably did about the Wonder Woman from Facebook from America.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying there. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into it, guys. I've mentioned it too many times already. So go watch another interview. I'll probably mention it there. Um, But I always think that kind of thing is fantastic, where you do see older generations go, I have been around for the majority of this character's
Yeah.
like existence, so I'm going to cosplay as them. So that's fantastic. Equally, I love it when a small child wants to dress up like Superman for the day, and it's so great. Um, I didn't actually mention this to you because I didn't know Lord of the Ringsy kind of stuff and whatnot with you. But at the Comic Con where I was dressed as Ivy, there was this tiny little baby there, and they were getting carried about for the entire day, and they were dressed as Frodo Baggins. And I'm like, oh, that is so great. Sadly, I don't think I managed to get a picture of it, but there is a video of my experience at Comic Con 2016 on my YouTube channel, so the guys do go have a look. You might and might not see this tiny little baby. Um,
It's an awesome video.
Thank you, thank you. Um, but definitely, just see what you can think. See what you think there with the babies and whatnot. On the flip side, a lot of cosplayers and a lot of, well, not a lot of cosplayers because cosplayers have a different opinion, but a lot of, I don't know what they're called, but like, let's call them PTA groups at the moment.
Okay.
I honestly don't know, so PTA people don't get pissed at me. It's not my fault. Um, but a lot of, well, actually, let's change PTA for society, because then nobody can get pissed off at me. Um, a lot of people in society say it's wrong to dress up your children and have them walk around at Comic Cons and such like that. It's unfair to the child. Coincidentally, a lot of cosplayers say if the child did not want to be dressed up, they would let you know. Are you in agreement with the likes of the cosplayers that are telling other people this? Like, if the child doesn't want to dress up, they're going to let you know. And what's your opinion on dressing up small children in general? Sorry, I cut you off there.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine. Basically, I'm with the cosplayers on this. Obviously, growing up, particularly with a mother that was used to playing dress up, and also her running a lot of kids groups,
Hmm.
there is that dress up box, and it is 9 times out of 10 emptied the moment you enter the room. If a kid wants to dress up, they will, and if you actually let a child dress themselves, you'll see this amazing idea come out of them, because what a kid knows is what they see. For example, if they see Ben 10, they're going to wear a green shirt and jeans because they like Ben 10. And if they, for example, Tangled, they're going to wear a pink dress.
Definitely.
And it's very much, I see it from the side of child heroes, which is they love dress up. And if they could, they'd dress themselves up. And it's definitely true. If they don't want to dress up, they're not going
Exactly.
to. They will flail.
A little side question there. Have you ever done any costumes that are specifically geared towards children, or do you plan to do any costumes that are geared towards them?
um, I think Wonder Woman.
Hmm.
I am definitely planning to do a Wonder Woman. I have a red corset that needs a Wonder Woman attached to it. So that's definitely going to happen. But in terms of doing it specifically for children, I don't think it is. Cosplay, I always think is for yourself.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, if you don't do it for yourself, it's not going to be fun.
If you were given the opportunity to do a charity event for a child, or even just like, um, say one of your friends says to you, "Hey, do you mind like dressing up like character blah 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 for my
I
kid's
would do it.
party," you would do it?
Yeah, without question, I would do it.
Okay. Um, so my next question for you, and this is a big one,
Uh-oh.
as I rub my hands. Props.
Yes.
Now, props fall into three categories for me. There's your big, massive props, your medium-sized props, and then your lovely small props. So we'll start off with a very easy question. Do you make your own props or do you buy them in?
Currently, the only props I've probably bought in right now are my goggles for steampunk because they are hard to make. I have made my own top hats in the past, which at the end of this video, when we give you the links, you will be seeing one of my favorites. I am currently in the process of making a Final Fantasy VII Soldier Second Class sword,
Ooh,
and that is there's a lot of EVA foam and PVC piping in the corner, so that's very much happening. But I will also be buying a set of pauldrons. I have tried to make them myself, and it hasn't worked. So I will actually be buying in the pauldrons for this outfit.
awesome. So when you're doing an event, um, which out of the three props that we kind of identified, your big, medium, and small, are you more inclined to take with you? Are you more inclined to take a big prop to a Comic Con, a small prop, or a medium prop?
I would say if given the choice, I would rather take a medium prop
Hmm.
because then you've got the best of both worlds. But in terms of what I've done, it's mostly been the small props.
Okay,
Easy to carry, easy to take off, easy to put in your bag once you're fed up with them.
definitely. And just on the subject of props there and going to Comic Cons, which one would you advise people take with them?
Um, which prop?
Yeah, like which size category would you recommend them do?
I would recommend the category they're comfortable with, and I know that's a very vague question, but it's very much, for example, with the sword I'm building here, it's going to be large, it's going to be unwieldy, and I will be designing a harness to attach to this to
Hmm.
carry around on my back. But I'm going to have to walk around town with it at some point just to figure out if I can handle the weight over the course of the day, because at the start of the day it can be quite light, but at the end of the day it's going to be heavy, you're probably going to be quite sweaty, you know, it might not work for you, so just test out your prop, and if you're comfortable with it for at least an hour, even if you have to stand in the garden. If you're comfortable, do it. If not, leave it at home.
Definitely. So when you're doing a photo shoot, which out of those kind of ideas, well, again, which out of the three are you more comfortable with, and are you more inclined to taking with you? Because a lot of people that I've spoken to have said, well, when I do a Comic Con, I don't take a big prop. I'll take either a medium or a small prop because it's just easier for like taking it to the con and walking around with it and all the rest. Whereas when I ask them about the photo shoot, they'll say, "Oh, I'll bust out my big prop then." Are you of a similar?
Um, I've done a lot of photo shoots in the past, and coming from the model side of things,
Mhm.
it's very much you do give it your all in a photo shoot. And it's, but in terms of Comic Con, that photo shoot is also your advertising.
Definitely.
So if you're not willing to at least carry that prop for an hour with it throughout the day, then I wouldn't bother taking it to the photo shoot because somebody's going to see that photo, they're going to expect to see that prop with you. That might be the prop that helps them find you.
Hmm.
So just go for something that works. If you want to go big, but also show your comfortable side of the cosplay as well.
Definitely. Um, so this is a very interesting question, this one. What has doing cosplay and steampunk opened up for you? Like, what opportunities has it presented to you?
Um, ooh. Very much. I've always been the sort of person who hides behind the computer screen. So it's very much, for example, with Calamity Cosplays.
Hmm.
To know him, I'm in his Twitch streams. Um, Mostly the gaming. You won't see me in the making at all. In the gaming streams, you'll hear us, and that's fun, which is causing me to set up my own stream for my sewing, and it's I'm still in the early stages, so all of the opportunities that could arise have yet to arise.
Hmm.
But I know I've had a few old photographer friends call me up and say, "We like this new look you've got going on. Can you come in?" And that's very surprising as well. And I'm at that stage where I'm looking forward to seeing what opportunities turn up.
Awesome.
And will probably accept some of them.
Awesome. And just on the gaming one, that is something that you guys have been trying very, very hard to get me involved with.
Yeah.
And you've been like, "Oh, come join us and do this," and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm kind of busy. Um, which is it's kind of weird because like another fellow cosplayer, another Nicholas, oddly enough, um, I was speaking to them this morning on Facebook very, very quickly because God knows Jai is so hard to get a hold of because I go here, there, and everywhere. And he was mentioning to me if I'd like to come and join um their tabletop session because they were going to be doing Dungeons and Dragons soon. And I was like, oh, that sounds really, really cool. Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing it? Is it on this or is it on this? And he was like, well, it's on this. And I was like, oh, I don't have that program. And I don't have the other thing that you guys are using to communicate with each other. But here's the program that I am using to do that because I do a different tabletop session, which is the Lord of the Rings tabletop session, guys, which you can catch both on iGame's YouTube channel and on the iGame website. You can find out what's happening with Estelle, Theo, Zabby, and Dylan Trust and see what kind of crazy adventures we're having. That sounds so weird. Um, but yes, it is very, very difficult. And I love the fact that everybody's trying to get a piece of me, and it's like, okay, there's currently not enough hours in the day for me to do what I want to do, but I will try. But I'm more than happy to come in, and I think I have come in a couple of times when you guys have been gaming and
Yeah.
spoken on the Twitch stream about stuff. Um, but normally by the point that you guys are gaming, I'm just like, huh? What? What?
I think you've come in
What?
at a point where we're all just. I think last time we were all very much we drink when we stream. I straight up admit that we drink when we stream, and we you generally just see us build up. In some cases, some of us go quiet because we're falling asleep. In other cases, we get louder because we're sauced. So it's
Do you know the one person that I think it's Mason?
yes.
Is it Mason? I love him. He's just so funny because I watched the stream where you guys were doing the wrestling.
Gang beasts.
Yeah. And he just got so animated about it and so passionate and it was like, oh, I love that. That is so great. Um,
I think the most humorous one I've seen him do, and I'm not sure if you've watched it yet, but I suggest you do on the Calamity Cosplays, is Portal. And you get to hear, I think myself and another female friend was in the voice chat at the same time, and it is giggles and screams. Mason was just, he
when
was so angry at Connor. He was so angry at him, me and Sarah couldn't breathe.
one person, and maybe you'll be able to tell me whether they cosplay or not, because a lot of the guys that Connor does his streams with do cosplay as well.
Yeah.
And it's another name dropping moment, so I don't know if they do, but I think their kids might. Rich and his wife.
Ah, they cosplay.
Do they?
Yes, they're actually
Awesome.
building their cosplays. Rich is Carry On Killing
Hmm.
on Twitch, and I think, yeah, he's currently making a steampunk mask on his stream. So if you want to check that out, it's Carry On Killing on Twitch, and it's fun watching him. And he does very much talk to the people as they're popping up in the chat as well. So it's very interactive with him as well.
I've spoken a lot with Rich and his wife, Miss Dee Dee.
Yes.
Um, I remember the first time I was in a chat with them, I was sitting playing the Lego Hobbit on my PS4, and the conversation I can't repeat, but it was very, very funny. And I just remember at one point I'm like sailing down the Anduin River in the Hobbit, and I think it was Rich said something, and I just kind of like paused my game and went, "What?"
There are a lot of moments like that.
Um, but hopefully since this recording is actually happening, hopefully we'll be able to get a chance to sit down with Rich and Miss Dee Dee at some point and maybe interview them because it would be great to interview them. Um,
In-
so before we do the Passover, I've got two final questions for you. And my first one is, what is a cosplay that you're going to do um, like in the next Comic Con that you go to? What is one that you're planning to do this year and one for next year?
Okay, first two I can answer straight up. MCM Comic Con this October, I will be attending as Zach Bay, and you may see me as Lust as well,
Uh-huh.
should I decide to do both days. As for next year, or the next Comic Con outfit I've got planned, would be Yvil from Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Hmm.
And for next year itself, and it's going to take a year to build, will be a full Nightingale armor from Skyrim.
Awesome.
So,
So before we do the Passover, I'm going to ask you the last question, which is, what advice would you give somebody who is willing to, well, is looking to start either cosplaying or even doing steampunk, but is a little unsure where to start?
um, do your research, look at things, and just do it.
Uh, one sec. So doing your research is really um, something that everybody really does need to do. Um, so as we had a little visit there,
And I think mine's just come in.
so my last question to you before we do the Passover is actually, guys, remember to give this video a big thumbs up, and all of Evie's social media parts that she will possibly mention will be in the description of this video. Um, Also, don't forget to leave us comments for either myself or Evie, where we will hopefully have a look and reply to them if we can. But if Evie is unable to reply to them on YouTube, you can follow her at the following social media places. So where can we get hold of you if we have any further questions?
Okay, my main stay, I should say, would be Facebook. So that would be facebook.com Yvil Cosplays, YVIL Cosplays.
Hmm.
Um, you will be seeing me on Twitch under the same name. I am on Instagram, so feel free to check me out, Lucas. And I am planning on setting up a Twitter, so you should be able to find me on there soon. But for all major inquiries, Yvil Cosplays, YVIL on Facebook and Twitch.
Awesome. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time out and spending
Thank
it
you
with
for
us,
having me.
taking us through a little bit of cosplay. Also, guys, don't forget to check out everything that we're doing on iGame at the moment because we are doing so many different things that would make your head spin. Who knows, we might get Evil Cosplays back for another thing, or she might pop up on another show on iGame. I mean, there is the TV drop where we talk about all things TV and movies as well. But mostly, I want to thank you for taking the time out. So
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun.
it's been awesome. So bye, guys. We'll be back with another one really soon. Bye.